Truth Unveiled here, and today I'm going to be sharing a lot with you, and I hope this will once again wake you up to what time it really is and to what time we're living in. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about this show on Fox that's called Lucifer, and when I first saw it, I actually sent the billboard to my mom, and she was of course stunned as well, but as you can see, it's a show being produced by Fox, FOX 666, and it's about Lucifer. Um, Now, if you don't think this is predictive programming, then I suggest you think again, because this show, that is exactly what they are doing, and I'm going to show you the time frame that they're releasing all this in and how it all relates to one another. And I'm going to show you another clip just so you can see that Lucifer, the hashtag Lucifer is coming. No, Lucifer is already here, and I'm going to show you how. Now here you can see a billboard for Lucifer. This is the billboard that's been shown up everywhere. Here you have the deviled horns, of course, hot as hell. Of course, satanic blood references. Now, you all are maybe wondering why this show, why is it coming out now? Why today? Why in this time period? Because what you all need to understand is that we are in a very, very serious time frame right now, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to end times. And I'm going to share with you this month, biblically speaking, and how everything is starting to tie together. And before I do that, I want to show you one more thing that features Twitter and the hashtag Lucifer is coming. And when I saw that, that is exactly why I wanted to do this post today. Now, I'm on Twitter, as you can see, and here I'm on the hashtag Lucifer is coming, and as you can see, there's been a bunch of posts regarding this. As you see, Lucifer is coming, hashtag. But you know what's kind of scary about all this is more people are looking forward to this show. More people are looking forward to the coming of Lucifer than they are the coming of the real, true Messiah. Now, if that doesn't scare you, if that doesn't ring some alarm bells in you, then I don't know what will. Now, what comment I did think was very interesting was this one right here. It says, yeah, now there are 4 shows on with demons. Shadowhunters, Lucifer, Sleepy Hollow, and the Shannara Chronicles. Yay, demons, my show too. And when I saw that, I actually looked up these other shows, and it's just so ironic and interesting how all of these shows that are featuring demons all happen to come on at about the same time. So later on in the video, I'll take you to those shows and I'll let you see for yourself how they all coincide with each other. But first, I want to take you to the biblical month that we're in and how the 11th month has just begun. I'm on renewedmoon.com, and as you can see here, it talks about the biblical 11th month, and it has a calendar. This one for me is the most accurate probably, and it shows the biblical month in conjecture to the regular months, the regular 30-day secular months. So as you can see, it talks about, it spans from January to February. The first, according to this, began on January 10th. For me, I observe based on Yisrael. So for me, the first began on the 11th. So in this video, I'm going to correspond with everything beginning on January 11th, the 1st. And as you can see, it spans all the way to February 9th, just about, which will be going into the 12th biblical month. Now, I found some interesting things about this specific month in general, this 11th month. If you notice, this biblical 11th month just so happens to begin on January 11th. So this biblical 11th month begins on the 11th day of the secular year of the 2016. However, this biblical month is also the first full biblical month of 2016. I don't know if you all are paying attention to that, but that just speaks loads and volumes. So not only is it the 11th day of the secular year, or falls on the 11th day of the Gregorian calendar, it also just so happens to be, like I said, the first full biblical month in 2016, and I'll show you some other things as well. Now also what's interesting is the full moon. The full moon happens to fall on January 24th UTC time, or for most people who are on the Western Hemisphere, it will be on January 23rd, which just so happens to be the 13th day of the 11th month. Can you think of anything that significant that happened on 11/13? I can, the Paris attacks. Are you starting to see things connect? Okay, so that's interesting. But let's keep going and let's see if we can find any more things that correlate and correspond with each other and that seem very eerie about this 11th month and about what time it really is. Now, there's also been a lot of talk about this movie called The Fifth Wave, and The Fifth Wave just so happens to be released on January 22nd, 2016. Now, biblically speaking, that's the 11th day of the 11th month. Is that a coincidence? Not really. And what's interesting about this movie is that it foreshadows a lot of things. It's talking about the apocalypse. It's talking about, death and destruction. But also, notice how they use the number the fifth wave. Where else have we heard that? Oh yeah, the fifth seal. Because if you really read the book of Revelation and understand it, you'll see that the first 4 seals have already happened. And the 6th seal is the earthquake. So that means we're living in the 5th seal. And we're currently living in the 5th seal. And this movie right here lets us know, and is a way of Hollywood indicating and telling us that that is exactly where we're in. We're in the 5th seal right now. And soon enough, we're about to be going into the 6th seal. So I hope you're paying attention to that. And I hope you are understanding the significance of this movie, and like I said, how it just so happens to fall on the 11th day of the 11th month, biblically speaking. But that's not all. Here we have the movie 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Now, this movie is being released on January 15th, 2016, which also happens to be MLK's birthday. But what I want to pay your attention to is the premise of this movie. And of course it talks about the 2012 Benghazi attack on Libya, which I personally believe was done by our American government. But anyway, it says, on the evening of the 11th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, let me read that again, on the evening of the 11th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, a group of Islamic militants attacked the American diplomatic compound and a nearby CIA annex in Benghazi, Libya. CIA security contractors, military veterans who serve with the Navy SEALs, Marine Force Recon, and Army Special Forces undertake a desperate defense of the American ambassador and his staff within the diplomatic compound. Now, what's interesting about this movie is that it has to do with Benghazi. It has to do with an event that happened exactly 11 years after 9/11, and it just so happens to be released in the 11th month, biblically speaking. But that's not all. See, Enter the Stars was the first person who calculated this, and the calculations was as so. If you look at 9/11, 2001, and if you add 11 years, 11 months, 111 days, and 111 weeks to that, he came up with the date January 19th, 2016. However, when I did the math and configured it myself, I came up with the date January 16th, 2016. So meaning January 16th, 2016 will be 11 years, 11 months, 111 weeks, and 111 days after 9/11. Now, if you notice something really interesting, this movie is being released on January 15th, 2016, and it just so happens to be called 13 Hours. Well, what's 13 hours after January 15th, 2016, the same day of the release date? Oh yeah, January 16th, 2016. Could they be potentially pointing to that day for something? I don't know, but I just thought I'd share it with you. And also, if you look at January 16th, 2016, or 116, if you flip the numbers, you get 911. So that's also something to keep in mind. And it's also interesting to note, if you look at the calendar, and I bring back up the 11th month, as you can see here, January 16th is the first Sabbath of the 11th month. Now, I thought that was interesting too, considering everything else that's going on. So very interesting to say the least. I just thought I'd bring it to your attention and let you know that it's just interesting how they're all pointing to the same thing. So I don't know what's gonna go down this month, but I do know that you need to be ready regardless, and you need to make sure that you have on the full armor of Yah. And now I'm going to be also going over some other TV shows that even feature demons, all of which are coming out in the 11th month. Now, like I said, what's also interesting are these TV shows that just so happen to be coming out or renewing within the 11th month. Now, I'm on Sleepy Hollow, and I'm going to sort of look at the premise. I'm going to sort of skip a lot of things, but basically this show has to do with the soldier and a spy, and has to do with a bunch of coming back to life, has to do with a bunch of demons, resurrection. But you know what I really found interesting is that it says Police Lieutenant Abby Mills begins investigating the Headless Horseman after he beheads Sheriff August Corbin, Mills' mentor and partner. Mills' investigation reveals the presence of two occult groups, one for good, the other evil. So here you see this good versus evil paradigm. And Sleepy Hollow, both of which are concerned with the four horsemen and the associated apocalypse. The killing spree the horseman embarks on causes Crane and Mills to team up, especially when they find out that they are destined to be the two witnesses, the only ones who can protect the world from the forces of hell, the forces of evil. Now, why did I keep four horsemen highlighted? Because it has to do with the four horsemen of the apocalypse in the book of Revelation. It also has to do with the four seals. And guess what? The fifth wave, the fifth seal. Are you seeing a parallel? Are you seeing a connection here? Because I am. And then, like I said, it's interesting how all of this is coming together. Now, for season 3, the next episode will be coming out on February the 9th, which is towards the end of the 11th month. So I thought that was interesting. And it's on Fox as well, the same 666 network that's going to be producing and showing the show Lucifer. However, there's more. We're on Shadowhunters, which is a TV show. It's based on the book From the Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. And the series, as you can see, premiered on January 12th, 2016, the very beginning of the 11th month. Now, let's go to the synopsis. Clary Frey learns that she is a Shadowhunter, a human-angel hybrid that hunts demons. After her mother is abducted by a demon, Clary joins a band of Shadowhunters to save her mother and discovers powers she never knew she had. Wow, abducted by a demon, what does that sound like to you? Alien abductions, maybe? Could it be because aliens and demons are the same thing? Yes. And notice how it says human-angel hybrid that hunts demons. Why are they choosing to release shows that have to do with hybridization, demons, and everything like that at this time in the 11th month, biblically speaking? Oh, but that's not the only one. Let's go to the Shannara Chronicles, which will be showing on MTV. This show came out on January 5th, 2016. Now, January 5th was in the previous biblical month, but it will be showing through the 11th biblical month. And let's see the synopsis here. So the Shannara Chronicles roughly follows the storyline set out in the Elfstones of Shannara, set about 300 years after the War of the Races. Notice how they give a race war reference, which ceased magic and confined the demons of the forbidding, locked by an ancient tree called Elkris. The series chronicles the journey of Will, Amberly, and Eritrea, who must fight with the guidance of the last druid, Alanon, to protect the Elkris from dying and unleashing all the demons to the four lands, or four horsemen. Four horses. And notice how it says a tree as well. So yet another show that has to do with magic and demons and all this other stuff that happens to be showing in the 11th month. Interesting. And then, of course, we have none other than Lucifer as well. And of course, I'm going to just briefly explain the premise, but the series will focus on Lucifer, quote unquote, who is bored and unhappy as the Lord of Hell and resigns his throne and abandons his kingdom for the beauty of Los Angeles, where he gets his kicks helping the LAPD punish criminals. Now, what's interesting about Los Angeles? Well, Los Angeles in English is the angels Or should I say the fallen angels? Because Lucifer is an angel of light. And it just so happens to be coming out on January 25th, 2016. About a couple of days after the full moon. Illuminated full moon. And by the way, this full moon will be the first full moon after the Christmas full moon. And I told you how symbolic the Christmas full moon was, because it was the ninth full Christmas full moon in American history. But also, it was the 239th year of a Christmas full moon since the first Christmas full moon in 1776, and how that represents the capping of the New World Order, and how in the Jewish calendar it's the year 5776. Well, America was founded in 1776, 4,000-year difference. It's a Freemasonic reference to everything is capped, everything is complete. And now that we're in the 11th month, the 11th hour, the 11th day, everything is complete and ready to go. Destruction is even at the door. But if you thought that was it, well, think again, because on February 7th, which is also in the biblical 11th month, you have the 50th Super Bowl, and it's going to be in San Francisco. Now, why is this so symbolic? The 50th Super Bowl, it represents what? Another Jubilee. And as you can see, you have the gold and silver duality here going on. And also, it was also interesting how at the very beginning of the biblical 11th month, the very beginning on January 11th, it was the championship between Alabama and Clemson in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix rising out of the ashes. Are you starting to put this together? And guess what? What does San Francisco remind us of? The Golden Gate Bridge. Golden Age. It's obviously referencing time is almost up. And it's interesting how it's coinciding in the biblical 11th month. But that's not the only thing, because the Super Bowl 50 coincides with another event that's going to happen in the 11th month. And do you want to know what that is? The Year of the Monkey. And the Year of the Monkey begins on February 8th, 2016. Now, what's interesting about this is that, like I said, it's the day after the Super Bowl 50, the exact day after. It's towards the very end of the 11th month, biblically speaking, and it just so happens to be right now, we're still in the year of the sheep, or the year of the goat. Now, why is the goat a symbolic animal? Because the goat represents the Baphomet. It represents Satan's image. And I don't know if you were peeping gamer, saw this, but in Detroit, they have now a Baphomet statue dedicated to Satan himself, with children looking at him. So, and you can look that up yourself, but I just wanted to bring this all to your attention and show you that, to see what time it really is. We got to wake up and see that time is of the essence. We are literally in the 11th hour, 11:11. That is literally where we are. And like I said, hopefully this helps people awaken to what time it is, because we've heard so many calls for peace and safety. I'm referencing 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. With the Pope, from the Pope to the UN to the International Day of Peace to all this stuff. That's all that has been going on, and that's all that's been talked about, is peace and safety, peace and security, which we know is of course false. And what comes after that? Sudden destruction as travail upon a woman. So we're seeing the calls, we're seeing everything lining up. Now what's also interesting, I thought, is that today we just saw the Obama State of the Union address. Now I watched it and I read the transcript. I don't know about you, but I didn't believe a word he said. Everything that came out of his mouth was a lie, except one thing, when he mentioned the rule of law. Now personally, I don't think Obama's going to be leaving office. I think he's going to be staying right where he is. But it's just interesting how he made the so-called final State of the Union within this 11th month. So I just thought that was also interesting to note too. Hopefully this will keep you updated with everything. And like I said, get ready, stay prayerful. believe in Yahuwah and just really start seeking his word, laws, statutes, and commandments, and his son Yahusha, and get away from these paganistic religions and mystery religions and start seeking truth, because now the time is nigh. Judgment is even at the door. This is Truth Unveiled. Shalom.